Shomishipar Ashtarashatashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shada Vrinda ki jai. Nama Chay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vaja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishya Vidata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharaj Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanand Shri Kartik Vrat ki jai. Vrat Palankari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Alright, sorry guys, I started late, so multitasking. Let me just open up my screen. There. All right. Like it is freaking out. Come on. Arg. This is so frustrating. What's going on? Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilnena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyaeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anapetam Apeta Kritam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhavo Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Binedos Tang Sarva Bhutaridaya Munimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Shrinvatang Svakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridantastoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatu Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naishtaki. Tavaivasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshai kshiptashtakama ditaranga madhe kripa maitam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charana ravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Alright, so I am going to read, I already read this last time. I read, I think the first 4 verses. But I'm going to start from the beginning again since there's been a 2-day gap. Might as well just, so that we get the flow of it all. So, just waiting for my screen to load. Okay. It's a brighter font. Georgia. Okay. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the answer to all questions. Text 1. Shri Shuka Vacha Atra Sarga Visargascha Sthanam Poshanam Uttavya Manvantare Shanukata Nirodha Muktirashaya. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following: the creation of the universe, the sub-creation, planetary systems, protection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of manus, the science of God, returning home back to Godhead, liberation, and the summum bonum. So there's sarga, visarga, sthanam, poshanam, uttaya, manvantara, isha anukata, nirodha, and mukti. Dashamasya vishuddhartam navanami halakshanam varnayanti mahatmana Shrutte nartena chanjasha. To isolate the transcendence of the summum bonum, the symptoms of the rest are described sometimes by Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, and sometimes by summary explanations given by the great sages. Bhutamatrendriya diyang janma sarga udahrita brahmano guna vaishamyar visarga purusha smrita. The elementary creation of 16 items of matter, namely the 5 elements, fire, water, land, air, and sky, sound, form, taste, smell, touch, and the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind, is known as sarga, whereas subsequent resultant interaction of the modes of material nature is called visarga. Purport. In order to explain the 10 divisional symptoms of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are 7 continuous verses. The first of these, under reference, pertains to the 16 elementary manifestations of earth, water, etc., with material ego composed of material intelligence and mind. The subsequent creation is a result of the reactions of the above-mentioned 16 energies of the first Purusha, the Mahavishnu incarnation of Govinda, as later explained by Brahma in his treatise Brahma Samhita as follows. Karanarnava jale bhajati sma yoga nidramana ananta jagaranda saroma kupa adhara shaktim avalambya param samurtim govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. The first Purusha incarnation of Govinda, Lord Krishna, known as the Mahavishnu, goes into a yoga nidra, mystic sleep, and the innumerable universes are situated in potency in each and every hair hole of his transcendental body. As mentioned in the previous verse, Shrutena, or with reference to the Vedic conclusions, the creation is made possible from the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly by manifestation of his particular energies. Without such a Vedic reference, the creation appears to be a product of material nature. This conclusion comes from a poor fund of knowledge. From Vedic reference, it is concluded that the origin of all energies, namely internal, external, and marginal, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as explained here and before, the illusory conclusion is that the creation is made by the inert material nature. The Vedic conclusion is transcendental light, whereas the non-Vedic conclusion is material darkness. The internal potency of the Supreme Lord is identical with the Supreme Lord, and the external potency is enlivened in contact with the internal potency. The parts and parcels of the internal potency which react in contact with the external potency are called the marginal potency, or the living entities. Thus, the original creation is directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or part of Brahma, and the secondary creation, as a reactionary result of the original ingredients, is made by Brahma. Thus, the activities of the whole universe are started. Stitir Vaikunta Vijaya Poshanantaranugraha Manvantarani Saddharma Uttaya Karma Vasana. The right situation for the living entities is to obey the laws of the Lord and thus be in perfect peace of mind under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Manus and their laws are meant to give right direction in life. The impetus for activity is the desire for fruit of work. Purport. This material world is created, maintained for some time, and again annihilated by the will of the Lord. The ingredients for creation and the subordinate creator, Brahma, are first created by Lord Vishnu in his first and second incarnations. The first Purusha incarnation is Mahavishnu, and the second Purusha incarnation is the Garbhodakshay Vishnu, from whom Brahma is created. The third Purusha avatar is the Kshirodakshay Vishnu, who lives as a supersoul of everything in the universe and maintains the creation generated by Brahma. Shiva is one of the many sons of Brahma, and he annihilates the creation. Therefore, the original creator of the universe is Vishnu, and he is also the maintainer of the created beings by his causeless mercy. As such, it is the duty of all conditioned souls to acknowledge the victory of the Lord and thus become pure devotees and live peacefully in this world, where miseries and dangers are always in existence. The conditioned souls who take this material creation as the place for satisfaction of the senses and thus are illusioned by the external energy of Vishnu remain again to be subjugated to the laws of material nature, creation and destruction. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that beginning from the topmost planet of this universe down to the lowest planet, Patalalok, all are destructible, and the conditioned souls may travel in space either by good or bad work, or by modern spacecraft. But they are sure to die everywhere, although the duration of life in different planets is different. The only means to attain eternal life is to go back home, back to Godhead, where there is no more rebirth as in the material planets. One second. Just need some water. The conditioned souls, being unaware of this very simple fact, because of forgetting their relationship with the Lord of Vaikuntha, tried to plan out a permanent life in this material world. Being illusioned by the external energy, they thus become engaged in various types of economic and religious development, forgetting that they are meant for going back home, back to Godhead. This forgetfulness is so strong due to the influence of Maya that the conditioned souls do not at all want to go back to Godhead. By sense enjoyments, they become victims of birth and death repeatedly, and thus spoil human lives, which are chances for going back to Vishnu. The directive scriptures made by the Manus in different ages and millenniums are called Saddharma, good guidance for the human beings, who should take advantage of all the revealed scriptures for their own interest to make life's successful termination. The creation is not false, but it is a temporary manifestation just to give a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead. The desire to go back to Godhead and functions performed in that direction form the right path of work. When such a regulative path is accepted, the Lord gives all protection to his devotees by his causeless mercy, while the non-devotees risk their own activities to bind themselves in a chain of fruitive reactions. The word Saddharma is significant in this connection. Saddharma, our duty performed for going back to Godhead and thus becoming his unalloyed devotee, is the only pious activity. All others may pretend to be pious, but actually they are not. It is for this reason only that the Lord advises in the Bhagavad Gita that one give up all so-called religious activities and completely engage in the devotional service of the Lord to become free from all anxieties due to the dangerous life of material existence. To work situated in Saddharma is the right direction of life. One's aim of life should be to go back home, back to Godhead, and not be subjugated to repeated births and deaths in the material world by getting good or bad bodies for temporary existence. Herein lies the intelligence of human life, and one should desire the activities of life in that way. Avataranucharitam harishchasya nuvartinam pumsamisha kata prokta nanakyanopabrimhita. The science of God describes the incarnations of the personality of Godhead and its different activities, together with the activities of his great devotees. Purport. During the course of the existence of the cosmic manifestation, the chronology of history is created, recording the activities of the living entities. People in general have a tendency to learn the history and narrations of different men and times, but due to a lack of knowledge in the science of Godhead, they are not apt to study the history of the incarnations of the personality of Godhead. It should always be remembered that the material creation is created for the salvation of the conditioned souls. The merciful Lord, out of his causeless mercy, descends to various planets in the material world and acts for the salvation of the conditioned souls. That makes the history and narrations worth reading. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam offers such transcendental topics of the Lord in relationship with great devotees. Therefore, the topics of the devotees and the Lord are to be given respectful oral reception. Nirodosyanushayanam atmana sahashaktivi muktirhitvanyatarupam swarupena vyavastiti. The merging of the living entity, along with its conditional living tendency, with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu, is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Liberation is the permanent situation of the form of the living entity after he gives up the changeable, gross, and subtle material bodies. Purport. As we have discussed several times, there are two types of living entities. Most of them are ever liberated, or nitya muktas, while some of them are ever conditioned. The ever-conditioned souls are apt to develop a mentality of lording it over the material nature, and therefore the material cosmic creation is manifested to give the ever-conditioned souls two kinds of facilities. One facility is that the conditioned soul can act according to his tendency to lord it over the cosmic manifestation, and the other facility gives the conditioned soul a chance to come back to Godhead. So after the winding up of the cosmic manifestation, most of the conditioned souls merge into the existence of the Mahavishnu personality of Godhead, lying in his mystic slumber, to be created again in the next creation. But some of the conditioned souls, who follow the transcendental sounds in the form of Vedic literatures, are thus able to go back to Godhead, attain spiritual and original bodies after quitting the conditional, gross, and subtle material body. They're able to thus go back to Godhead, attain a spiritual and original bodies after quitting conditional, gross, and subtle material bodies. The material conditional bodies develop out of the living entity's forgetfulness of their relationship with Godhead. And during the course of the cosmic manifestation, the conditioned souls are given a chance to revive their original status of life with the help of revealed scriptures, so mercifully compiled by the Lord in His different incarnations. Reading or hearing of such transcendental literatures helps one become liberated even in the conditional state of material existence. All the Vedic literatures aim at devotional service to the personality of Godhead, and as soon as one is fixed upon this point, he at once becomes liberated from conditional life. The material, gross and subtle forms are simply due to the conditioned soul's ignorance, and as soon as he is fixed in the devotional service of the Lord, he becomes eligible to be freed from the conditioned state. This devotional service is transcendental attraction for the Supreme on account of His being the source of all pleasing humors. Everyone is after some pleasure of humor for enjoyment, but does not know the supreme source of all attraction. Raso vaisa rasam he vayam labdvanandi bhavati. The Vedic hymns inform everyone about the supreme source of all pleasure. The unlimited fountainhead of all pleasure is the personality of Godhead, and one who is fortunate enough to get this information through transcendental literatures like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam becomes permanently liberated to occupy his proper place in the kingdom of God. Abhasascha nirodhascha yatostya dhyavasiyate sa ashraya parang brahma paramatmeti shabdate. The Supreme One, who is celebrated as the Supreme Being or the Supreme Soul, is the supreme source of the cosmic manifestation as well as its reservoir and winding up. Thus, He is the supreme fountainhead, the absolute truth. Purport. Synonyms for the supreme source of all energies, as explained in the very beginning of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, are Janma Dasya Yataha, the first verse. Vedanti tat tatta vidas tattam yajgyanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan eti shabdate. Called Parabrahma, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Synonyms for the supreme source of all energies are called Parabrahma, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The word iti used here in the verse completes the synonyms and thus indicates Bhagavan. This will be further explained in the later verses, but this Bhagavan ultimately means Lord Krishna, because the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has already accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.3.28. The original source of all energies, or the Summum Bonum, is the Absolute Truth, which is called Parabrahma, etc. And Bhagavan is the last word of the Absolute Truth. But even with the synonyms for Bhagavan, such as Narayan, Vishnu, and Purush, the last word is Krishna, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasva prabhavo matta samang pravartate. Bhagavad Gita 10.8, etc. Besides that, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a representation of Lord Krishna as a sound incarnation of the Lord. Krishna swadhamapagate dharma jnana divisaha kalo nashta drishamesha pura narko dhunodita. Thus, by general conclusion, Lord Krishna is the ultimate source of all energies, and the word Krishna means that. And to explain Krishna or the signs of Krishna, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has been prepared. In the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this truth is indicated in the questions and answers by Sutta Goswami and great sages like Shaunak. And in the first and second chapters of the canto, this is explained. In the third chapter, the subject is more explicit, and in the fourth chapter, even more explicit. In the second canto, the Absolute as the personality of Godhead is further emphasized, and the indication is the Supreme Lord Krishna. The summary of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 4 verses, as we have already discussed, is succinct. This Supreme Personality of Godhead in the ultimate issue is confirmed by Brahma and his Brahma Samhita as Ishvara Paramakrishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Brahma Samhita, verse 1. So it is concluded in the third canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The complete subject matter is elaborately explained in the 10th and 11th cantos of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And the matter of the changes of the manus or manvantars, such as Swayambhuva Manvantar and Chakshusha Manvantar, as they are discussed in the 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 7th cantos of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Lord Krishna is indicated. In the 8th canto, the Vaivasvata Manvantar explains the same subject indirectly, and in the 9th canto, the same purport is there. In the 12th canto, the same is further explained, specifically regarding the different incarnations of the Lord. Thus it is concluded by studying the complete Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that Lord Shri Krishna is the ultimate Somam Bonam, or the ultimate source of all energy. And according to the grades of worshippers, the indications of the nomenclature may be differently explained as Narayan, Brahma, Paramatma, etc. Alright, so that's our reading for today. Short reading today. Let's see, I just want to see this synopsis. I'm just waiting for it to load. Did my video finish downloading? Yes, it did. Awesome.